Mom, or you can get it.
She seems better suited for that.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to write that love song. Kaylee, it's more important to me now you're gone. Maybe it will prove that we were right, or it'll prove that I was wrong.
You took it and
Right.
checked it. They didn't be like, hey, hold up your seat.
What time are we starting?
Ow.
Yeah.
I've seen people get like sent to the back.
Now would be
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, this isn't our group.
I was like hoping. I was like, oh my god, if they do that, I'll be mortified. Like, should I do it? Should I do it? Just did it.
There's nothing
Well,
more
I was thinking,
embarrassing.
man, there's some person that just wasn't allowed to put his stuff away because of
Never checking your bags on these.
Hey, 2-minute warning.
never. That was like the last thing I needed to not have a suit. And then I have to go to a Hollywood suit outlet.
We still got time. Oh, okay, Cindy Miles. We're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm going to call the meeting of the Board of Governors back to order, and thank you all for being here this morning. I want to also thank our colleagues and hosts here at Woodland Community College again for their hospitality in hosting the board meeting and really giving us a great experience here to see the college in action and meet the faculty. We had an opportunity to meet their Board of Trustees yesterday, too. You could see what good things can happen when there's strong governance leadership, strong campus leadership, and you can see the magic happening. And so we're glad to be here. We're going to resume our agenda, and we're going to take up two items together. One of these was delayed from a previous meeting, and we're pleased that Member Perry, who's been a leader on this issue, is here to participate in the discussion. And we're going to go to item 2.6 and 4.1, and we'll take them together. It's on regulations governing new cooperating agencies for foster youth educational support categorical programs and the foster youth support services programs, a report on that. So I'll turn it over to the Chancellor. Oh, you're exactly right. I got ahead of myself. Before we do that, because I was so excited to do the foster youth program, we also were able to spend some time last night with our partners in the Foundation for California Community Colleges. And so we are going to take an opportunity to, because they have their board meeting today, to offer some recognition and hear our annual report from the foundation. And so I'm delighted to welcome the CEO of the Foundation for California Community Colleges, Keitha Mills, who will give a presentation about the state of the foundation, and then also we'll do a special recognition.
Fabulous. Thank you, President Baum, Vice President Estolano, Chancellor Skinner, members of the board. I'm delighted to be here with you this morning to talk about the Foundation for California Community Colleges, our 2016 accomplishments, as well as a preview of our 2017 annual plan. We are in the We are in the third year of our 2020 strategic plan, and we've been focusing all of our work, everything that we do under this plan, as our work relates to supporting our students, our colleges, our college foundations, and the system as a whole, and then ensuring to be able to do that work that we have the appropriate infrastructure in place to support the key work that we do in those areas. So when we look at our goals around students and colleges, we really look at these goals together, because many times when we're doing work to support students, it helps colleges, and vice versa. When we're helping our colleges, it also helps students. When we're thinking about how our work impacts students and colleges, it's really around student success and access, career outcomes, providing the student-centered resources and tools, and really providing sustainable, innovative programs and services and solutions for our colleges. So over 2016, we had a number of key accomplishments. We increased our support in 3 of our key primary areas: student success, workforce development, and student services, by over 40%, providing just in this last year alone $10 million of support in these 3 areas. Through our College Buys program, we increased our savings for our colleges, students, faculty, and staff by over 10% to over $22 million of savings across the system. And one of the ways that we were able to do that by adding 11 new product offerings through College Buys. So we now have a cadre of 63 current offerings that are available to our colleges, and then some of which are available to our students, faculty, and staff. And we've been able to do that through increasing partnerships through our higher education partners. So not only are we leveraging the buying power of the largest institution of higher education in the nation, but now we're also partnering with our K-12 and UCs and CSU's partners to leverage their buying power as well. In workforce development, we facilitated over 100,000 students in work-based learning experiences, not only providing that important hands-on experience in their field of study, but also providing cold hard cash in their hand. Over $1.5 million of work-based learning pay to these students. That's helping them to stay in school, pay for their housing, pay for food benefits, and books and those sorts of things. We served over 35,000 faculty, staff, and at-risk students, providing student mental health and foster youth support services, and you're going to hear a little bit about that when the next group comes up and talks about our foster youth work. This work is done in heavy collaboration with our partners in the Chancellor's office, and we're really proud of the work to serve this important population. And finally, in this area, and this is another really timely accomplishment, we started a brand new program this last year that will help increase access to food benefits for our students through a new Fresh Success Employment and Training program. This is a new multi-million-dollar program that's bringing federal dollars to California that have never been tapped into before. So we're really excited about this program, and we'll be piloting it over the next year. Over 2017, we expect to stay focused on our 3 key areas, which are student success, workforce development, and student services, and continue to grow our support in those areas. We also want to really continue to leverage these new higher education partnerships and expand College Buys with more products and services and even more savings for our colleges. We're looking to expand and scale our work-based learning opportunities for our students, and we're looking to do that through technology. So we've got 2.1 million students, 113 colleges, 72 districts. We want to put all of these students to work, and we'll do that through technology, making it easier to match employers who have these opportunities with the students who have the skill sets to take advantage of them. And as I mentioned, the Fresh Success, we're really looking to scale this program. It has a lot of opportunity. We're starting with 2 pilot colleges. One's Cosumnes River College, the other is Gavilan College. We're looking to learn from these pilot colleges and really grow and expand to 10 to 12 colleges, we hope, over the next 18 months, and eventually go statewide with this program. When we think about how our work impacts our local community college foundations, we're looking at really supporting the network of California community college foundations, promoting the collaboration among our local college foundations, and trying to increase the capacity for our local college foundations to support their local fundraising efforts. In this area, it's really important to us that we not compete with what's happening at the local level. It's really important work that happens in those communities, and we want to enhance and encourage and promote collaboration and best practice sharing among our local college foundations and not cannibalize the work that's happening there at the local level. So our work related to the community college foundations, we provided $50,000 in financial and staff support for the network. We worked with them to develop a capacity building case for support and piloted a fee-for-service benchmarking study where we're really working to bring that expertise together at the local level and help them help themselves because they're really the experts in how to fundraise best at the local level. We worked with them to launch an online resource for these local college foundations to share best practices. No need to recreate the wheel. We have over 100 local college foundations at the local level, and they can really learn from each other and share best practices. And all of this put together really work to improve the overall financial standing of the network so they can be more effective and more impactful in meeting their goals around advocacy, professional development, and networking at the local level. So when we look to 2017, we really want to continue to build up the momentum around the effectiveness of the network and build that capacity building support for the network. We're also going to be really focused on engaging more and more college CEOs and leadership. And we also think we have a real opportunity with the new chancellor coming in to engage the chancellor in these conversations about how do we better promote the importance of our community college foundations and the importance of the fundraising that happens at the local level. So supporting the system, our work supporting the system really works to expand and diversify the resources that are available to the Chancellor's Office and the Board of Governors. And over the last year, we've had a number of key accomplishments. First and foremost, we provided $250,000 in direct support to support Chancellor's Office and Board of Governors activities that otherwise simply would not be possible through the state budget. So we're able to provide that extra dollar that allows you to do things that are really important to your work that just aren't simply funded through the budget. We've done a lot of work around integrating the Success Center for California Community Colleges that was seed funded through philanthropy. We've now integrated that work with the Institutional Effectiveness Partnership Initiative that's under the leadership of Vice Chancellor Teresa Tena, and we're very excited about that partnership and how the Success Center can continue to move forward the professional development area. And we're more aligned with ever on our workforce development programs and services, and we're continuing to align those with the strong workforce program recommendations. Our work around in workforce development relates primarily to our work-based learning services, regional alignment work and bringing regions together, and then of course college and career readiness. From a also related to the system, we've positioned, I mentioned College Buys earlier, we positioned College Buys to really represent the system in this intersegmental work. This was under the leadership of former Vice Chancellor Dan Troy and now Vice Chancellor Mario Rodriguez, where they've really recognized College Buys as a leader in this area, and we're really proud to represent the system in this way. We've grown our endowment management services this year. We've taken on management of the Real Estate Education Endowment Fund. We're now managing over $90 million of endowment funds and providing over $4 million of scholarships to students through all 113 colleges across the state. And again, we're partnered more and more with the system. There's a laundry list of kind of key projects that we're working on, and we're really proud of our work to help accelerate the priorities of our team members in the Chancellor's Office. So as we look to 2017, we're looking to really attract even more diversified funding streams for the system initiatives, really leveraging that Success Center that's partnered with the Institutional Effectiveness Partnership Initiative. We think there's a lot of opportunity with the Success Center to attract more and more outside funds. The Success Center has really given us a seat at the national level with new funders that we haven't had access to before, so we're really excited about that opportunity. We want to continue to integrate our workforce development tools with statewide statewide technology tools and with the initiatives under Vice Chancellor Vonton Quinlivan with the Strong Workforce Task Force, and really looking for new opportunities. I talked about a new multi-million-dollar federal program we launched this year. We're always looking for that new opportunity to bring new resources to the system, building on our past accomplishments. And where we've been most successful are in areas of communications projects, technology projects, and just overall program management. And we expect to provide another $250,000 of support to the work that you do and the work of the Chancellor's Office to fund those things that just aren't possible through the state budget. Our fifth goal is around making sure that we have the infrastructure so that we can be successful in all the programs and services that we run. I've just run through a handful of them. All in all, we have 43 different programs and services that we run out of the foundation, so we are very diverse. We are very lean, and it's really important that we have a good base there to support all the work that we do. So we work hard to foster a culture of excellence, integrity, shared leadership, shared success, making sure that we are really exceeding our constituent expectations in everything that we do. Over the last year, just like the Chancellor's Office, we moved to a new location. So we're on the 4th floor. We did that on time, on budget, with minimal disruption. We're really proud of our new space. If you haven't been to the 4th floor, next time you're at 11 OQ, I encourage you to stop by and say hello and check out our new digs. We're continuing to grow our brand recognition and organizational reputation, and we're known more and more for our financial prudence, our ability to innovate, and our ability to act and act quickly. And the phone is ringing, and more people are looking to the foundation as if I want to make a big splash in California and I have philanthropic dollars and I want to get something done. The foundation is who you call to help get that done, and we are the official partner to the Chancellor's Office. I'm really proud of the work we've done to improve our employee engagement. Happy people make successful organizations. So we do an employee survey every year, and for the second year in a row, we've achieved over 4 out of 5 employee satisfaction scores in all categories. From a financial perspective, really proud of this goal. Over the last 12 months, we submitted over 90 new grant and contract proposals with an 82% application success rate. 90 new grant and contract proposals with an 82% application success rate. So when we go after something, we're really strategic about what we go after. And sometimes we do strategically go after things that we don't think we're going to get. But 8 out of 10 times when we're going after something, we want a yes, and we're going for a yes, and we're trying to bring those dollars in. So really proud of our team and our ability to really be successful in this area. So that resulted in over a record year, and you heard me say this last night. We had over $20 million in new business opportunities that came through the door. These are multi-year grants that came through the door in this last year. So over the last 12 months, from a revenue perspective, so the dollars we were able to bring in and push out into the system over the last 12 months equated to about $30 million in total revenue and total support out to the system. And you heard me say this last night, we're very lean. 85 cents of every dollar that comes into the foundation goes out in direct support for our students, our colleges, our college foundations, and the system as a whole. So we are lean, and we are all about providing impact for our constituent groups. And finally, one item that's really near and dear to my heart is growing our nest egg for the future. We've been building our bank account over the last 7 years, and I'm very proud to report that we have over $2.4 million at year end, and we expect to see that continue to grow. So as we look into the next year, we really want to capitalize on our momentum. We had a great year, and we want to keep that momentum going, really becoming more and more of that go-to hub. We want to make sure that we're really watching our infrastructure as we continue to grow. We need to make sure that our back office infrastructure is growing to be able to support those programs and services. From a budget perspective, we expect to generate at least $33 million in total revenue, so that's about a 10% increase, and we want to stay lean. We want to maintain that metric of 85 cents of every dollar that comes in goes out to support programs and services. And we want to continue to grow the nest egg for the future and hope to have over $3 million in operating reserves by the time we get to year end. So it's been a really phenomenal phenomenal year. It's been a great partnership with the Chancellor's Office, with Chancellor Skinner, with the Board of Governors. Much of our success is a result of those partnerships and our ability to work together to bring new funding into the system. We've really increased our year-over-year impact. We beat or achieved virtually all of our annual plan metrics. We're aligned more than ever. We have more partners that we ever had. Our phone is ringing. People are calling us and asking us to help them make an impact in California. And again, we had a record year of new business opportunities. So we think we're really well poised to move into 2017. We think it's going to be a fantastic year with a new chancellor and even more opportunities. We know that the new chancellor coming in is very well connected, and we are ready to take full advantage of bringing even more resources into California to benefit our students, colleges, college foundations, and the system as a whole. So that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. I know when I first joined the board, there was not nearly the integration of the Board of Governors and the Foundation of Community College for California Community Colleges, and your leadership has been transformational in that relationship, and I want to extend my personal appreciation for what you've done to
Thank you.
move the organization forward in such a dramatic way. And so we have two of our board members also serve on your board, and I wanted to see if either of our board members wanted to add a word or offer an
Absolutely.
observation.
So I've been on the foundation board for about a year or so now. It's a great opportunity to learn, opportunity to really understand. Like Keitha mentioned, a lot of times it's about the California as a whole and all 113 community colleges and how we support them. And a lot of times funders go individually, but they really want to look as one unit. And so the organization and the foundation is able to do that. And one of the things, Keitha, if you can just highlight, for example, of the 90 new grants or contracts, can you talk about one example of something that, tangible in terms of an organization that we went out to and how we developed it and how much money came in and what we're doing with that money? I think that would be helpful for the board to understand that a little more.
Sure. Actually, why don't I use an example that gives you a bit of credit? So we just, over the summer, we had a...
Thank you.
Over the summer, we had a board retreat where Arnaldo participated in, and we talked a lot about how can foundation board members help the foundation and really work with the foundation, and we talked about a triangle. And really our triangle of success is when we find something that is a system priority and that can really impact our students, something that the foundation is good at, and there's a funder that's interested in funding, and that's where we can really be successful. So Arnaldo made an introduction to a funder that was interested in doing some civic engagement work in the California community colleges. And so as a result of that introduction, hard work with Chancellor Skinner and his team in the Chancellor's office to make sure that what we developed was integrated with what was already happening at the local level. We've recently secured seed funding of $775,000 for a student civic learning and engagement program that we hope will then turn into a more sustainable multi-million-dollar multi-year grant that will really embed. We're going to take advantage of the 2016 election to get this money in and get students engaged in getting registered to vote. But the longer-term plan is to really build a student learning program that then can be really embedded in our California community colleges. So in the next week or so, our colleges should receive some very simple guidelines to apply for some seed money to do this work, and we'll have tools and resources that we'll be able to send out to the colleges. And it's really great timing based on the resolution that was passed yesterday and the partnership with the Secretary of State. I think there's a lot of momentum and a lot of synergy on that. So thank you for that introduction. It was a perfect example of how to work together and make introductions to bring benefit to California community colleges. So if any of you other guys have contacts like that, we're all ears. And if you bring us an idea and and a funder who has some interest, we can, 8 out of 10 times, we can typically bring it across the finish line.
Yeah, I'll share just one example that earlier this summer, a former board chair, Kathy Unger, approached me because there was an organization that's called the Truth Campaign. They're the ones that are enacting campaigns that are anti-smoking campaigns around the country. And they had a fund, it wasn't huge, but to each district or college that would adopt an anti-smoking policy, they would make a grant of $7,500. And they didn't know how to navigate our entire state to get that word out and to help incentivize campuses for adopting anti-smoking policies. And so the foundation stepped right in and helped facilitate that communication so that I don't know how many ultimately took advantage of it because many schools already have anti-smoking policies already adopted. But if the more we can get the word out to funders and people who want to connect with an entire system and the most important system of higher education in the nation, the foundation is the channel to do that.
Absolutely.
Any other, Jennifer?
I'm very new
Member
and
Perry.
very impressed. And if it wasn't such a profound conflict of interest, I'd hire you to help my nonprofit.
Thank you.
Well, then we'll move on. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I just briefly wanted to voice my appreciation. During my time in the Chancellor's office, the level of collaboration and communication has never been greater between our organizations. And you build a great team and you're doing tremendous work, and that doesn't happen without great leadership. So, Keitha, thank you for all you've done, and we look forward to our continued collaboration.
Thank you.
Member Haynes?
Keitha, congratulations. This is marvelous work. You indicated that you want to grow your reserves to $3 million. What does that represent in terms of percentage of overall operating costs?
Yeah, so we bring in about $30 million a year. So the $3 million on the 30 is about the 10%.
Thank you.
You bet.
One thing that you should mention, too, is that you manage the Osher Endowment, too, and do you
That's
want to
correct.
give us an update, because that was the largest gift in the history of the system, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. So we now have total endowment funds of over $90 million. And because of the expertise that the Osher Endowment allowed us to build at the statewide level, we've been able to bring on smaller funds. I talked about the Real Estate Education Fund. That's a $4 million fund. When you have $4 million, you have access to a certain level of investments, which isn't much. It's mostly a mutual fund. When you're able to pool it with another $85, $90 million, you really have access to more sophisticated levels of investments, and you can earn more money to get more money out. So we're really, the Osher Endowment really provided a tremendous opportunity to our system on a number of levels. It's providing $4 million of scholarships on an annual basis to all 113 colleges, 72 districts, and it built out this amazing capacity at the statewide level for us to provide that support for other smaller funds.
Great, thank you. We'll move on. We have a special recognition to make, and so, Keith, I want to ask you to call forward your board chair, and so we can recognize your service.
Thank you. So I would like to welcome Patty Sullivan here to the table, and as she's making her way here, I really appreciate President Baum, Vice President Estolano, I really appreciate the opportunity to honor and recognize Patty Sullivan for her 17 years of service as a board member of the Foundation for California Community Colleges. Patty joined us when we were 1. So she's been through our infancy, our toddler years, our honorary teenage years, and is now seeing us off to our young adulthood in a place where we are stronger than we have ever been. We are more integrated with the Chancellor's Office and the Board of Governors' priorities that we have ever been. Patty, I want to say thank you. Patty, in her leadership, she always pushes us to think bigger, always pushes us to do more, and it is because of that leadership that we are the organization that we are today. Thank you for all that you've done for me professionally. You've been a great mentor, a great coach, a great advisor, and thank you for all that you have done for our organization in support of our students, colleges, college foundations, and the system as a whole.
I feel like a beaming, proud parent right now. I have to tell you that 17 years ago, the foundation was two people. One was the executive director and one was a sidekick. And Larry Toy, some of you know Larry, was a professor as well as had served on the Board of Governors. And he had taken out a personal line of credit to fund the beginnings of the foundation. And he had provided the first donation. And with that, as Keitha said, this organization has gone through many, many phases. But right now, it's just like when you have a child and you see them launched, and you step back just a little bit and you see the wonderful things that they can accomplish when you allow a little bit of guidance and a little bit of room to grow. And I have to say, the greatest achievement of my 17-year tenure is hiring Keitha. I actually led the search for, and Eric was part of that as well, but I led that search effort, and I am just so proud of the work that Keitha's done, but more importantly, the individuals that she has brought in her senior leadership team and the entire organization. So some of you may not know that the organization's now 100 people, so it's gone from 2 to 100 in those 17 years. And it's because of Keitha's leadership and her strategic vision, as well as her compassionate understanding of what it takes to make a team that has created the foundation. She has also led the effort to build the partnership that both I'm sorry, I don't know, is it interim chancellor?
It's
whatever
Chancellor.
you are.
Call him Chancellor Skinner.
I don't know. I like to say Eric and Jeff, and I know it's not appropriate. But both of you have referenced the partnership that the foundation has had with the Board of Governors and the system office. And Keitha has really taken the guidance that we provided as the Board of Directors and taken it to a whole new level. So I'm very pleased and honored, and I really am beaming with pride. My heart is overflowing, and she's talked me into forming an alumni organization that's going to continue to help. So pleased, and I'm pleased with all of the work that you do. Just like a boat owner, your happiest day is the first day of becoming an appointed board member, and the second happiest day is the day that you get to say, okay, it's time to turn it over to the next generation. So thank you very much. I appreciate it, and it's been an honor. Thank you.
We're going to take a picture, and we have a special presentation to make, but on behalf of the more than 2 million students and probably 10 million students over the course of your tenure, and 72 districts, 113 colleges, and a generation of board members in the system office, thank you for your exemplary leadership. You've been a model, and you've provided selfless service to the system. You've been compensated richly for it, I'm sure. No, but the rewards are, we've all benefited from your contributions, and so thank you so much. Thank you. We're going to do a quick photo. Thank you, Keitha. Thank you, Patty. Now we'll go back to the other item that we have because Keitha has been patient. Her item's been on the agenda for some time, and we've had to push it, but we also want to talk about an important population that our system serves so effectively. It's foster youth. So we will go to item 2.6 and 4.1 on the agenda. We'll take them up at the same time. Chancellor.
President Baum, members of the board, the next item before you is an update on foster youth support programs and services available across the California community colleges. This is an item that Board Member Jennifer Perry asked to come before the board, and it's a great opportunity for the board to learn more about these important programs. So and then following that, again, there's going to be a regulatory change that's related to one of the new efforts. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Vice Chancellor Pam Walker.
At the table this morning, I am joined by Colleen Ganley, and she used to be a part of the foundation, and we snuck her to another part of the agency, who is a specialist in mental health and has a significant work in the work we're doing for special populations. I'm also joined by Sarah Tyson, one of our deans in student services, and we're quite fortunate to have with us the president of the Associated Students, Courtney Cooper, who's going to tell you the story of foster youth. So this item provides the board with an overview of the various foster youth support services and programs administered by the Chancellor's Office, the Foundation, and inside the 113 colleges in our system. Just a couple of important notes. Almost 14,000 current and foster youth are enrolled in the California community colleges, working against odds towards building a rewarding career. I think it's important to note that on our campuses, having spent a number of years on a campus, sometime on a Friday afternoon, one of your administrators or your staff people would come by the vice president's office and say, "Give me $10. And you're like, "Again?" And they said, "Give me $10. I need $10 for the weekend." And I said, "How many of our students need money for this weekend?" They said, "We don't have any other place to do it, so we're just walking around getting money from everyone so that we can make sure they're fed over the weekend." That happened endlessly. And what we're trying to do is put that important note of "give me $10" to how we do this in a different way. And so of 113 campuses, my guess is there's a staff person walking around someplace saying, "We need some money for someone for the weekend." Now we're going to tell you how we're going to work with everyone else to try to make that, maybe they're just going to keep asking for $10, but that they're going to do it in a more reasonable way.
Good morning. Thanks, Vice Chancellor Walker. I am going to talk to you briefly about 3 programs that the Chancellor's Office has involved that help provide services to foster youth. The first one I'm going to talk about is our newest program, and it's called it's very long, Cooperating Agencies Foster Youth Educational Support Program. And this program was enacted into statute in 2014, and we first received funding for it in the 15-16 year. The statute only allows 10 districts to participate in this program as a result of the negotiations when the legislation was being worked through the Capitol. They were trying to contain the funding, so it's a very limited pot. So we have 26 colleges that began implementing this program in January of 2016. And this program is a supplemental component to our EOPS program. So it's designed to be, as we all call EOPS, over and above. It's designed to be over and above the over and above that EOPS is. Our colleges are finding there's an age limitation as well for the foster youth that can be served through this program. And so the colleges are finding the outreach to these youth to be a bit challenging, and they're not being able to grow their numbers quite as quickly as we had all hoped. So when we opened up the application period for this program, we basically asked colleges to project a 3-year implementation period just to give them an idea of how to ramp up. And as we go through this 3-year implementation period, we'll look to see Are they getting the numbers that they need? We're going to look to partner with other people to try and find a better way to outreach to some of these youth that could be served by the program. Colleges are required through this program to provide all other student success and support services that they would be providing to every other student. They can pay for them with this supplemental funding, or they can do it through the regular student success and support program. But we also expect the colleges to do a much better wraparound services for these students and provide them with referrals to mental health services, with referrals to health services if they need it. Emergency housing support, emergency food support, emergency loans. They can provide them work study. And we particularly hope that colleges are going to be providing these students with unmet need grants, since that's really a big piece of, there's a big gap in the financial aid that students can receive. And lastly, but not least, as far as implementation of this program, we are working with the foundation who helped secure some funding from the California Wellness Foundation on an engaging outreach, more youth-friendly. We've got another logo that we're developing that's, did it turn out to be Next Up?
Next Up.
Next Up. And we tested that with some youth in the field so that we could see if it was youth-friendly. So it will be Next Up, and then it'll have a tagline of Cooperating Agencies Foster Youth Educational Support. So we'll provide an update to you on that program as it continues to ramp up in a future time. The second thing I wanted to talk to you about very briefly is that the Chancellor's Office and the Board of Governors have long expected colleges to have student equity plans in place. However, the student equity planning effort was uneven and largely unfunded. So 2 years ago, we first received funding for student equity, and $70 million in 2014-15 and another $70 million in 15-16. And so that's a total of $140 million. And one of the things that happened as that legislation went through was that they called out foster youth to be a targeted population. So now colleges, all the colleges actually have submitted plans addressing foster youth to some extent or another in their student equity plans. But we know there's a lot more work to be done to support those equity planning efforts. One of the things we've been doing is working with CalPAS Plus and the John Burton Foundation to help colleges identify their foster youth information and be able to track and outcomes for those foster youth. The foster youth information that we have in the system is a bit uneven, and so CalPAS Plus is helping us help colleges identify their foster youth information. And then the third program that I wanted to talk to you about is something that's not very well known in our system, and it supports the caregivers for foster youth. So we have a 30-year program that's called our Foster and Kinship Care Education Program, through which we provide education in trauma-informed classes for caregivers, in child development, in, what were some other examples? The effects of trauma on child development, understanding the child welfare system, positive discipline. So these programs are designed to help the caregivers that have the foster youth in their homes be more effective caregivers and be able to be there for these youth that have been traumatized. In the last year, we also received a small augmentation of $385,000 to actually provide training around commercially sexually exploited children as well. And this is a big, huge concern in the state. So they are actually funding that at the Department of Social Services, and the Department of Social Services has provided some funding to us to provide training in this very specialized area. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Colleen.
Hi there, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm here to present on two joint projects that are foster youth support programs in the community college joint meeting, Foundation and Chancellor's Office working together on these projects. The first project is an initiative of the Chancellor's Office, which began back in 2006, the Foster Youth Success Initiative. It's a statewide effort designed to provide a single point of contact at each of the 113 community colleges to support current and former foster youth interested in pursuing post-secondary education. Early on in the project, the Chancellor's Office requested that each one of the 112, then now 113 colleges identify a single point of contact who could participate in professional development to learn about the unique needs of foster youth as they transition out of care, and also to learn about best practices when working with this very vulnerable student population. Because this is an unfunded initiative, the role of liaisons is voluntary. These are existing faculty and staff that have volunteered to become experts in serving foster youth. This is in addition to their full-time workload. As a result, the work and the services that liaisons are able to provide, there's a great scale. Some are able to offer full-service, robust programs to foster youth. Others are able to provide a very limited amount of service to young people. The types of services that they offer include ensuring timely access to financial aid, ensuring that foster youth take advantage of priority enrollment. Also, they support youth in accessing other support programs, including EOPS, DSPS, and CalWORKS when appropriate. Over the years, the program infrastructure has been developed to support these professionals that are working with youth. We've developed an FYSI training manual. It's a comprehensive training manual that provides resources and information to faculty and staff at colleges on how to serve students. We've also developed a student financial aid resource guide. I've brought samples of the collateral materials that have been developed over the years, and I would gladly share it with you if anyone is interested in taking a look. The FYSI project is overseen by an advisory committee that's composed of professionals across the state who help inform us about what's happening on the ground and the significant challenges that these students are facing. In 2013, the foundation has been a longtime partner and supporter of the FYSI initiative, though formally in 2012-13, the Chancellor's Office and the foundation partnered to secure philanthropic support from the Walter S. Johnson Foundation. We are now on 3.5 years of grant funding, and the foundation is able to provide administrative support to the initiative. We're really proud of the growth and the work that's happened as a result of that partnership. The next project, and I'll just spend a few moments on this, it's a long name. It's a project that's been housed directly in the foundation since 2008. It is the Youth Empowerment Strategies for Success Independent Living Program, otherwise known as YES-ILP. And what this project is it's a partnership between the Chancellor's Office, the Department of Social Services, and the foundation, and 18 participating colleges. 18 colleges receive small grants to provide independent living skill training to foster youth. This is cohort-based learning activities that focus on financial literacy, career preparation, independent living skills, and educational support services. In addition to ILP training activities available to the young people, they are also have a single point of contact at each one of the 18 colleges, and those points of contact are able to support the youth in their enrollment and matriculation. And I think, yeah.
Thank you.
I think that is a summary of both of the projects. Thank you.
We're going to have Courtney Cooper talk to you just for a moment and tell her story. She is our president of our Associated Students and a student at Foothill College.
Hello. So when I entered foster care, it was 3 months before my 18th birthday, and I had been denied education since 8 years old. So from 8 to almost 18, there was no formal education, no homeschooling. I spent the last 2 years basically being kept in a small room and let out once a day to eat. I got myself and my younger sibling out and into emergency care services. He began his elementary education at 5th grade. Upon entering community college for the first time, I dropped out after about 2 years with a 1.5 due to the fact that I did not have the support services needed to guide me through, having nobody to tell me what is the pathway, how do you fill out financial aid, how do you even attend classes and learn your basic skills on top of immediately almost being put out into independent living. I helped get my brother through high school. He graduated second honors from a Jesuit Catholic school. Very proud of that, and immediately went into LSU. Unfortunately, our mother passed away during his first semester, and he came out to live with me. I said, come here, come into the California Community College system. In that, he's thrived. He wants to be a robotics engineer. I know that at Foothill College, Christine Johnson is our point of contact, but not only in having my younger brother come and helping guide him through the system, it also helped me realize how much was available to foster students. Without some of these programs, I would not be able to get the basic classes that I need. I wouldn't have found out that I had PTSD or panic disorder. I thought I had a stomach ulcer. Turns out I was having panic attacks so bad that I had to skip classes because I was throwing up in the morning. Due to the fact that there was mental health services available, due to the fact that there were counselors available, that helped. Being able to have one-on-one counseling and one-on-one tutoring for things like basic skills math. These are things that will get someone through their higher education in 3 years instead of 5 years. They'll make sure that they don't drop out, that they're able to continue. So through these support services, I'm now able to lead an organization that represents 2.3 million students, as well as help my brother achieve his goals of getting a bachelor's in robotics. So without these programs, we are losing so much potential just because some of us have gone through challenges. Some of us have gone through things that we might be ashamed of. I'm certain that I believe out of the children that go missing from foster youth, many end up into trafficking of some kind, and that can be very shameful, and the burden of that shame is put on the victim instead. Instead of writing those students off by providing these wraparound services and support, we're investing in our future. We're investing in their next generation, their next kids, as well as their younger siblings. So I really appreciate that these programs are in place. And then for the foster and kinship program, unfortunately, my brother, he was able to be immediately placed into a foster home. I myself was not, and had to stay for an extended time in the children's shelter for Santa Clara County. This may not have been as big of an issue if there had been more out there about the fact that how to become a foster parent, how to become like a kinship. So that also is a very important element, that if we can keep people together as families or create those surrogate families, that's going to create that support. So when they do go into community college, when they do go into higher education, they have that stability and healing.
Thank you very much for sharing that story. Your courage in sharing that is going to help a lot of people around the state, so I appreciate that. We have an action before us, but I also wanted to see if Member Perry had a comment she'd like to share.
A few, thank you. And I want to thank Acting Chancellor Skinner and President Baum for the opportunity to hear about these programs. I was recently at a Hilton Grantees meeting, and around the room, everyone referred to, I can't say the name, let alone the acronym, but CAFES, or however one says it, as a game changer.
We call it CAFES.
Yeah, as a game changer for foster youth in the state of California. So it's a really important program, and I'm indebted to all of you for making that happen. And the same is true for FYSI. And I think, Courtney, thank you for sharing your story, and it makes me think that you're remarkable. And there's a lot of remarkable foster youth and former foster youth who have managed to triumph in spite of the odds. But what I think is so great about the community colleges and these programs is they provide the opportunity for all foster youth to become remarkable. They just need the wraparound services and the additional supports that these programs provide. So that's why I think they're so significant. And to put a little bit of context, nationally there's 400,000 youth in foster care, 25,000 age out every year. California has a significant percentage of that population. So I think the work we're doing to show that with the additional supports, mentoring, wraparound services, that youth can achieve their educational goals is significant nationally. The statistic I use all the time in my work is 70% of youth in foster care want to go on to pursue some kind of higher education, and 3% do. That's a gap I think we are all charged with narrowing, to say the least, and I think the community colleges are doing right now. It's playing a significant role in closing that gap. So thank you for your leadership and your work, and thank you for the opportunity to hear about these programs. And then a more point of minutia. I was speaking to one of the women from the Veteran Resource Centers last night, and it occurred to me that I know it's difficult for foster youth to self-identify because of a lot of reasons, the stigma, there's a whole range of reasons, but we started to talk about if it wasn't too onerous, since there's a lot of connection between going into the military, foster youth, finding a home in the military, maybe some of the Veterans Resource Centers could add that to their question, were you in foster care? It might be a way to start help identifying the youth if it wasn't too onerous for the centers, which I know are also resource starved. So thank you for your leadership. I am really empowered and heartened by what is going on at the community colleges for these youth.
We're going to go on to the action connected to this, and then we can have some further discussion.
I have sort of one question, and thank you so much, Courtney, for sharing your story. And it's really clear that there are a significant number of wraparound services that make so much sense for our students who have been or currently in foster care. But the one that's of interest is the significance, and if you can speak to it, around housing. I mean, it's been made very clear that homeless, if you can, or those who have mental illness or need services, if you can give them housing first, that the other things can fall into place. They're more receptive, folks are more receptive to that, to going to college, to getting the help they need. And so if you could speak to, now this says emergency housing, is there anything any help relative to more permanent housing? Are the colleges doing some of that, or is that we still have to work on that piece of it?
Yes, I'd say we still have to work on that piece of it. I think that our construction of this list of services was really framed in the sense of trying to help them find housing and then help potentially give them enough cash support to get them into that housing. So I think locally, it's probably being done 26 different ways. And when we get the group of directors together, that's one of the things that we'll definitely talk to them about is what kind of strategies they're using around that.
I think the other piece in all of this is putting together an advisory that helps all colleges. All 113 have the best components. Working also with the Conservation Corps as a part of our entity, there are many students who come into the Conservation Corps who have come from sex trafficking because that's a safe place to have a house. It also a roof over your head, and it's also a way to learn some things. So in meeting with those Conservation Corps folks, we've learned a great deal about ways we can leverage other opportunities that might not help every student, but might give some students an opportunity to work. So we've got to bring all of these groups together and develop that advisory that would help everyone.
So if board members could turn to page 79 in their agendas, because we're going to take some action that actually empowers the entire system to more effectively address issues and serve foster youth better. So item 2.6 is a second reading in the adoption of regulations related to cooperating agencies' foster youth educational support program. The chancellor and the staff have provided information on the new system already, unless there's anything else you'd like to add on that. Are there any other additional comments from members of the public before we speak?
I have no speaker cards.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions by members of the board? Member Belinsky.
Thank you for the presentation, because it's very helpful to hear all of the work that is going on for this underserved group of students who need to be engaged and helped. When I read through the presentation that's in the 4-point whatever, it reads as though there was a very limited amount of money available to colleges. When we pass 2.6, which then creates a categorical program, do we have a sense yet how much money will be available to this categorical program? And will all 113 colleges be eligible to get that funding?
Yes, we have up to $15 million that can be spent on this categorical program. However, the statute, because of the negotiations that happen, the statute limits us at this point in time to 10 districts, and that's 26 colleges statewide.
Even with the categorical program.
Even with the categorical. It was a very different, the bill was written very differently from a lot of programs. So our responsibility as staff and at the Chancellor's Office is in March of 2018, we are to report out on the implementation of this program and the feasibility of expanding it statewide. So that's the opportunity to potentially open it up.
And before we go to additional questions, I want to ask for a motion on the recommendation. I'm going to ask Member Perry if she's willing to make the motion on the recommended.
Yes, I would like to make that.
And a second by Member Sumner. So we have the motion and the second on the floor, but Member Sumner, you had a question.
I was just curious, the colleges, you said there was 26, to see the names of those colleges, because you're talking about 10 districts, because I would just like to know the names of the colleges, because if you're talking about homelessness and you're talking about where they're going to live, I mean, it really becomes a cost factor into which colleges got this and who applied for it. I would just be really curious so we can maybe, with the wraparound services, do more support out there for this. I'd just like to see a list.
Can you name the 10 districts even?
Yeah.
Or have they not been selected yet?
Let me see if I have my list.
I mean, you don't have to have it right now. I mean, it was just something I'd like to see the list.
Right.
We'll provide that to the board.
Member Burdick?
Thank you. I noticed the very first item on page 79 is outreach and recruitment. Since only 3%, as Member Perry mentioned, are actually coming to college, and then only, I would think it's a total of 4% of foster youth finally get a degree or certificate. What kind of outreach is being done before they actually come to us? It would seem to me identifying them very early and getting them into the program, making college a possibility would make a huge difference.
So for me, it was a while ago, it was probably 8 or 10 years ago, and the Santa Clara County, the shelter, it was very comprehensive, very, very wraparound, and so they had independent living programs. They would put you with mentor or child advocates, and it was essentially through the mentors and the child advocates that I was encouraged, like literally walked to or driven to the college, signed up for like a summer swim class just so I could even kind of get that experience. Without that, I don't know how it would happen. For my brother, it was kind of, no, you have to do this. Like, we will work, we will make sure that you have the ability to do it. So it was because there was already a family member who's gone through the program who got him in. But otherwise, it's generally either you have to have your foster parent encourage you and kind of walk you towards it, or you have to have a mentor. And one of the big issues I see with other foster youth that I've met at community college is this, that especially that are returning students, is the sense that if you don't immediately get into a CSU or a UC system, then it's kind of pointless. Then you either go to a trade school or you just work. Like, that's what you're expected to do, is work so you can live independently. So encouraging them that there is more than one route to get to the CSU or UC system and more than one route to get to a career. Like, they can go through tech school in the CC system.
So we're going to move to a vote. All those in favor of the recommended change in regulation, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much for the presentation, and thank you for keeping us posted. It shows that we also have some work to do with the legislature in expanding this program from 10 to 113 colleges.
Chairman Baum?
Member Conway.
Just a quick comment. I really applaud this. It took me back to, after a couple of years, things go away. When I served on the Tulare County Board of Supervisors, we had a very innovative program recognizing the issues with termed-out foster care youth. And the county hired lots of seasonal employees. We had an intern program, and we made termed-out foster youth a priority, so they could put their name in for those jobs, for that employment, and immediately were at the top of the list. I'm not sure that every county has programs like that, but it's worth investigating. That's probably would have to be done individually with each county by the community college itself. just another network. But we found that ended up being an award-winning program and was so effective for the termed-out youth because, basically they were facing homelessness and no other options. So lots of partners out there.
Thank you, Member Conway. We're going to move ahead to item 4.8 on the agenda. We're going to talk about a success of this system in working both with the legislature and our partners in the California State University system, as well as some input from our partners in the field. So I want to do, it's the Associate Degree for Transfer presentation. We used to have this on our agenda for every meeting, and it's the way this board kept the momentum going on changing the system to align for stronger transfer pathways. And I'm pleased to get an update on that through Chancellor Skinner.
Thank you, President Baum. Members of the board, this next item, as indicated, is an update on implementation of the Associate Degree for Transfer Initiative. We have the pleasure today of hearing from Michelle Sequeiros, President of the Campaign for College Opportunity. Her organization was involved with the development and passage of the authorizing legislation, Senate Bill 1440, by Senator Padilla, Secretary Padilla now, who spoke to you yesterday. So recently the campaign issued a report on implementation of ADTs, and this report will serve as the framework for the presentation today. So thank you for being with us today, President Sequeiros, and I'll turn over to Vice Chancellor Vice Chancellor Pam Walker for some additional introduction.
I don't think I honored you like I should have this morning. I was so excited to start the foster youth thing, and I knew I was going to be sitting here for a bit. So please let me say President Baum, Vice President Estolano, and board members and Interim Chancellor Skinner. This is a subject that has been very important to those of us in academic affairs on the Associate Degree for Transfer and our ADT presentation. I think it's important to note that when SB 1440 was enacted and passed, that this was a time where, and I'll just throw the unintended consequences so you can understand the significance of the work that was done. No new staffing in the Chancellor's office. We had to come up with a process and a template. We had to train ourselves and the colleges. During that same time, let's remind ourselves that the colleges were going through significant losses, and many of our campuses had no articulation officer, no curriculum specialist. And so in light of that, since the work that we started doing, we are still having approved 2,067 ADTs. That's all new, 2,067 ADTs. In the first year, the transfer perspective was 11,452 students who received an ADT. That means the colleges also had to have faculty retrained to do some of this work as well. It was a universal opportunity for all of us to be together. 14-15, we had more than 20,000 students receive an ADT, and we're still counting in 15-16, but we're up to 20,000 as well. Along with those 2,000 ADTs, 687 of those ADTs were not called out in SB 1440. So college faculty were looking at different ways they could frame the transfer degree to help our students. So those were required and not called out. So I talk with my staff all the time, what's the unintended consequence? We didn't have any money for marketing, and we still had 20,000 students interested in this. And we have some significant more work to do around STEM programs, because our chemistries and our biologies, those very significant programs, we can't find that 30-30 maturation. It's like 32-33. And so we have to come up with some additional work. Maybe Michelle will help us in encouraging the legislature to look at that differently. And then the CID process, that common identifier trying to make sure that what you take at a community college is appropriately successful and appropriate for the CSU and UC. I am really proud of the faculty because they have done some significant work with the University of California, who now said, oh my gosh, let's do that as well. Let's have an ADT work in tandem with the UCs. So there's been a significant amount of work. There's always more work that we can do. And I think Michelle's significance in this is to help us kind of look at refining and looking at it with a different eye, and we'll learn from this process as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Michelle, would you like to share with us? We've got a packet, and thank you for your organization's efforts on behalf of this, and it's been a great partnership so far, and I want to hear what you've learned as you've assessed the program in the report, and then where we can how we can continue to improve it.
Thank you, Chairman Bogg. Thank you to all of you on the Board of Governors, especially Interim Chancellor Eric Skinner, Vice Chair Estolano, and I have to personally also thank one of my newest board members and on your board, Connie Conway, for her leadership and support of our work. I love the term partnership because I think as I talk about transfer, it's really critical. Obviously, this didn't come about by any one single force or factor, and it really did require the leadership and vision and commitment really to implement. So I'm excited about talking to you about a few highlights. I do have a brief presentation, just a few slides that have some data, so if we can get that up, that would be fantastic. As that comes up, I just want to share, I think many of you are familiar with the Campaign for College Opportunity, but if you're not, I do always like to say who we are. Our focus is really strictly on California higher education. It's to make sure that more students have a chance to go to college, that once they get to college, they can pay for it, and that they actually walk away with something, whether it's a certificate, whether it's a workforce training, whether it's transfer, whether it's a degree. We do believe that obviously the future of California rests upon our own ability to ensure that more of our population, our citizens, have the opportunity to go to college and graduate. And quite frankly, I think each of you know there's no system of higher education more important in California or the world, as far as I'm concerned, as the community college system is on all of those factors, whether it's access to college, whether it's affordability, and certainly when we're talking about how do we ensure diversity in higher education, how do we close the gaps for students of color, underrepresented students, foster students, that is all really only possible if the community college system works effectively. Yesterday, I heard you were visited by Secretary of State Alex Padilla. I think most of you know that in 2010, he was the champion for reforming transfer in California. And as your Vice Chancellor Pam Walker talked about, the environment was not a great environment. It was the height of the recession. There wasn't a lot of resources. But like the saying goes, sometimes you can't miss a challenge to move something forward, right? And that's exactly what happened in 2010. But I have to commend, Eric Skinner, who sits here in front of us, because really, while there was a heavy lift in terms of getting legislation passed and getting Senate Bill 1440 passed, certainly it's the implementation that matters the most. I think any of you that care about public policy know that at the end of the day, if it's just written in a very thick ed code book and nobody ever looks at it or pays attention to it, it's pretty pointless. So I think it's important to just remind ourselves why transfer is so important in California. I think, as you all know, our higher education system is set up to send most undergrads to the community college system. We reserve the top third of spots in college for those that want to attend a UC or a Cal State system, and 2/3 of our undergrads are at a community college. By design, the system was put forward in that fashion to create access, to ensure greater affordability, but also it was seen as a way to ensure that transfer into and the attainment of a four-year degree through the community college system would happen pretty smoothly. And that has not been the case since the 1960s. There have been decades-long efforts to improve transfer. There are certainly community colleges that do an excellent job, but there's a lot of challenges in terms of transfer, how it functions, and why we felt compelled as an organization to lead the charge around some of the transfer reform efforts, and I think why many of our own system leaders back then, Chancellor Jack Scott and Chancellor Charlie Reed of the Cal State system, the academic senates that really came together to move this forward, and obviously the legislature. The key problems that we sought to fix in reforming transfer was ensuring that students didn't have to take courses twice. That a community college, class, if it's a college level class, should be accepted by the CSU and the UC with the same rigor that it was delivered in the community college system. But what we heard from students was that they were being asked to take classes multiple times in order to earn their bachelor's degree. That's obviously not only a waste of time for students, but it's a waste of public resources. And at the end of the day, we're responsible for both. In addition, transfer requirements were changing constantly. So the CSU or the UC might say, oh, now we need this. That communication, you can imagine how it gets funneled. It's probably as effective as a game of telephone when you're communicating with 113 colleges. And there were too many pathways to transfer. One of the things you heard from Courtney Cooper earlier is, she really needed guidance in terms of what she had to do. Well, that's very true for transfer. If there's so many ways to transfer, and if you don't know actually what is transferable or not, that's really an unfair process to put students in. So the whole point of reforming transfer in California was to address those major challenges. I should point out that only 4% annually of community college students transfer. And while many of you will say, well, not everybody goes to transfer, which is always the response we hear, when you sit in a room full of community college students and you ask them how many of them want to transfer, 8 to 9 of 10 hands will go up. So while we may have opinions about students' college readiness, while we may have opinions about a variety of factors that will prevent students from transferring, the bottom line is that the majority of students that enter a community college system enter with the intention or the goal of transferring, and we should make that process seamless. We shouldn't pass students without them earning, the credit and doing the work, but we shouldn't create unnecessary hurdles, and that's what SB 1440 really sought to remove. And so we wanted to ensure that there was a clear transfer pathway. We wanted to make sure that students earned an associate degree for transfer. That's why it's the ADT. What we learned was that many students were transferring, but not earning an associate's degree, oftentimes because community colleges had a lot of other requirements that the UC or the CSU did not need for that student to complete in order for them to enter the four-year institution. But what we also found is that a lot of students don't finish that four-year bachelor's degree. And there's clearly a market value in having an associate degree. And quite frankly, if students spend years in the community college system and have taken lots of courses, we think they deserve to have a degree to show for all their work. And we wanted to make sure that there was a guarantee for them. So the associate degree of transfer was revolutionary in another way. It ensured that a student who completed those 60 units of undergrad education would not only earn that associate degree, but would be guaranteed admission into the Cal State system. All of those are things that did not exist beforehand. When we knew that we were onto something really good is when we were talking to the media, we were talking to allies across the system and outside the system, and folks really said, well, isn't that how it already works? It's not. But one of the things you'll learn from us is that at the campaign, we not only champion good policy and we not only advocate for strong funding, but we also monitor implementation. And so while we were at the forefront of 2010 legislation being secured and signed and passed, we have since then, for the past 6 years, monitored implementation. In March, we released a report that is included in your packet called Keeping the Promise. And we saw some really great news in terms of great progress that had happened. Clearly, I think, the one thing that has gone mentioned already by both Pam and Eric is the collaboration between the community college faculty and the CSU faculty in developing these associate degrees for transfer, a real alignment across the system. And really, we've seen thousands of students earn these degrees, actually doubling every year-on-year rate. So, the latest facts, over 38,000 students in the community college system have received an associate degree for transfer. Over 90% of them have been admitted and enrolled into the Cal State University system. And it's estimated that 90% of those students will graduate within 2 years of being enrolled. Another, factor that we were trying to address with reforming transfer is to ensure that the time frame was lessened. We talk a lot about the growing cost of college for students, and one factor that's often ignored is the length of time. Well, time is a huge cost, not only for the state that's spending additional resources on students that don't complete or are taking longer, but certainly on students in terms of their inability to earn money of a college graduate, and their inability to go out there in the workforce, and also obviously the expense that it takes to stay in college. So these are all really promising things. But obviously there's still huge challenges. Only 8% of transfers are associate degree for transfer students across the system. Only 24 of your 113 community colleges have fully developed all the associate degree for transfer programs that they could have in development. And you have a sheet that actually has the percentage rate college by college in front of you. So more than half of California community colleges really need to do a lot more work to significantly increase the associate degree for transfers. Here I'm focusing on the challenges in your system because that's where you have oversight. I want to be clear, there are some real challenges in the Cal State system. One fact that I think is pretty disturbing and that we've also addressed with CSU trustees is that, only 4 Cal State systems are responsible for 2/3 of the community college associate degree for transfer students that they accept. So 4 of 23 campuses, which means that there are 18 campuses that need to step up their game in terms of ensuring all community college students have access to those campuses. So those are still challenges that persist. If you're like me, I think you want to focus on those bright spots. And just a few months ago, we were proud to award several community colleges in the system for their excellence in transfer. And you actually have a program that shares who they are and what they're doing. I think it's obviously important to figure out, for the community colleges that are leading the way on this, how do they help inform the other community colleges that really need to do a much better job. And so we're really proud to honor all these community colleges that you see listed above here. Also, if you're like me, I think you probably like to talk about problems, but more importantly, want to focus on solutions. And so I do have some recommendations and that I want to leave you with. I think one of the recommendations of 3 that I have for you is really that, I think it's important that all of you continue to ensure that this issue is a priority, that it stays on your radar and on your agenda, and that it's part of what you expect the Chancellor's Office to report back to you on. We believe you should be pushing for 100% compliance on the associate degree for transfer. Legislation says that colleges should be compliant, but there's really no enforcement mechanism if you're not paying attention to that issue. You should also be looking, at this rate, we're trusting community colleges to say this is how many of the 32 degrees for transfer that are out there, every community college gets to self-determine how many they can offer. We hope that they are self-determining the right amount. We don't expect colleges in rural areas that don't have full course offerings to offer all 32. But we do expect that colleges that have classes that do have the ability to offer those transfer degrees do so. Again, that is not, that is within your realm, within the Chancellor's Office realm, to make sure that what they're identifying as what they can offer is true and and right.
If you could share the rest of them so we could get to board member questions, that would be
Yeah,
great.
the last two recommendations are really that we increase the significant number of associate degree for transfers. You saw some of those. I don't think there's anything also holding your body back from setting some statewide goals around how many associate degrees for transfers, when are we going to get beyond the 8% rate. And the final recommendation is really to include associate degree for transfer completion in your student success scorecard, and really to strengthen information efforts. So Pam Walker talked about some of the challenges without resources beforehand to communicate the pathway to students. We know that that's actually a true issue. There's been a $3 million investment through the student equity funds. I think it's within your body's realm to make sure that those resources are being appropriately delivered.
Thank you for those recommendations and your advocacy. I would like to go to board member comments and questions so that we can discuss this and then see where we might go in the future. Member Belinsky.
I do want to ask a question to determine whether it, in some respects, is slowing down the process for the approval of ADTs the colleges submit. When we first were submitting ADTs and they had a CID descriptor attached to the course that you had to submit, you only had to show that you had submitted the course to CID. Now you have to show that it's been approved by CID. And as we know, the reviewers in many disciplines are not acting quickly. I have some that are over 8 months. So I think, as we look at these things, we do have to look at all the different components that could, in fact, slow the process down, such that some colleges might say, if you're going to take this long.
Would you like me to respond to that?
Sure.
So what we know is when you start to develop these important programs and you start to bring technology into those programs, the minute you have this massive amount of new work, technology breaks. So we know we're in the middle of some very significant work with faculty. We've called on some CEOs to try to figure out how we change this structure of curriculum approval and make it a little more seamless. But again, you don't realize where the unintended consequence is when you start this, and then this massive amount of new work comes. And I forgot to, when I invited Raul Arambiola Jr. to the table with me, not only does he work on the ADTs in our office, he's also a faculty member here at Woodland, and so he can probably talk to us from both angles. You will see something different in processes. Everyone is working on what happened when something wonderful started, and then it may have, I wouldn't say broke, but it got stalled a little bit with the CIDs, with the changes. So we're moving on that one.
Thank you.
Two areas that I've been concerned about. One is that we created the degree with a guarantee with the California State University, and we want to work, and we really appreciate your advocacy to making sure that our students who achieve that degree, there's a space for them at the California State University. And as the number grows, I know there's a lot of anxiety at the California State system about how they're going to absorb those students who earn their degree, and they want to make good on that promise. The other is the University of California. They've created a guideline, but they haven't created a guaranteed program for our students. And I want to see what it's going to take to get our students a guarantee to a University of California campus. I appreciate President Napolitano. Is it Chancellor Napolitano? President Napolitano's leadership in understanding that they need to be more. They need to transfer from across the state. There's uneven records, and I don't know if you were part of that research effort as well, but that the University of California needs to make room for transfers from the state of California, and how we can ensure that that is a guaranteed pathway for our students.
Mm-hmm. So two quick responses. First is that we will continue to advocate for more funding for the system, especially to ensure that there are spots in college for all eligible students. The guarantee does provide that guarantee to those students that earn the degree. I think that's why you're going to see more and more students get it, because they know they'll have a spot somewhere in the system. We've also simultaneously been pushing and pressing the UC regents and the UC president around creating these pathways. I think huge progress last year in the announcement of 11 pathways. I think now they're up to 20. That's all good news, but I agree with you. I think there should be a guarantee, and what we've pushed them to is they could create a higher bar for students. That's fine. But there still should be a guarantee, and I think we'll continue to advocate, and I think your body should communicate to the UC regents that you would like them to push for a guarantee as well. As you know, the legislature can't mandate them to do anything, but certainly they hold the purse, and that's influential.
I think that's a very good strategy. I think our leadership should show up at a UC Regent meeting, and we'll speak to a regent who will be joining our leadership here as well. Member Avalos.
Well, thank you very much, Michelle Seguridis, for this presentation. One of the questions I have is, when you look at what you provided us, and it's on your areas of improvement, so we're looking at 63% of the folks that received ADTs actually don't enroll at all. 63%, is that correct?
So, the data is pretty difficult to analyze because, unfortunately, some of us do miss the California Post-Secondary Education Commission because they did a good independent job of collecting data. A lot of the data analysis sometimes cannot follow and track students, so we struggle a lot with, what the CSU data allows. We have a good sense of how many students apply and are admitted, but those numbers have changed dramatically, and there was a challenge at the very beginning with CSU even tagging students. They were counting students that were self-identifying as associate degree for transfers versus actual. They've been, confirmed. So Pam, I know that we continue to have some data challenges.
So,
You're right.
Are we working on that at all, though, Vice Chancellor? Because, when I look at this number and I say, wow, this is an effective program. Yeah, 20,000 people went through this program, but only, 7,300 only went. So there's some amiss here.
You're right. And we know that some of these students matriculate to other institutions. The board has set up a memorandum of understanding with the historically black colleges and universities built on the ADT. So some students are following that pipeline. Other students are going to UC or to privates. Now, but what's critical is that we develop the research base to understand where these students are going. And so I appreciate you making the point. And we're actively working on that. Our research team is working with the research team from CSU, in particular, to really have robust information, not only about the numbers of students taking this pathway, but ultimately the number of students succeeding, the effects on time to degree, the effects on unit efficiency, and so that's underway, and we can definitely bring more information to the board about that.
I appreciate that. I just want to echo, this program is an amazing program. It seems like it's really making a difference in people's lives, but if we're not tracking it correctly to define success, and the way when I look at this and say, only 37% are actually enrolling, that's a concern, right? So we need to get to that data, because if not, a great program without really telling the correct story, we really can't applaud it as much as we can. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. For the last word on this topic, we have a member of the public who wish. Member Haynes.
Mr. President. There's a couple of things. So at the community college level, there are students who are transfer ready. This is before we ever had an ADT. And many don't make that transition to colleges, just as I think some of the ADT students, because there is a financial commitment that's also imperative. And so it isn't always seamless. Many of our students are older students. They have families. So it isn't seamless, and part of the challenge is we got to make certain that there's funding that wrap around these students so that they can be successful and they can sort of do this in 4. That's the promise of the ADTs, that you can do it in 4. But my real question was, I'm wondering to what extent are we understanding why there are only sort of 4 successful CSUs that get the greatest number of the ADTs, and what would be, how can we at the community colleges be more helpful? Maybe we are not quite doing it right. So I would like to have that kind of sort of honest dialogue on why that isn't happening at all of our CSUs. And if it's on the side of community colleges, maybe we need to do something different. If it's on the side of the CSUs, maybe we can help them do it differently.
One thing that I think was helpful in this process, and I think that what I'd like to continue to do, is we had this on the agenda for every meeting for several years, and we haven't kept on that as much. And so what I'd like to do is ask the Chancellor to see that we could continue to monitor this subject and also move forward on that. Now let's invite a member of the public who wishes to comment.
Yeah, we
on
have
that.
one speaker card, Julie Bruno.
Maybe while Julie comes up, I'll answer your question in terms of what's working and what are some issues with the CSU. First, what we notice is the 4 CSUs that are performing incredibly well in terms of receiving associate degree for transfers have really strong connections to their local community college, and that local community college has a really strong performance. So you have Fullerton Community College and you have Cal State Fullerton, and they're 2 of the top performers. So obviously it takes 2 to tango, maybe, is a good way to put it. But there are also Cal State universities that don't value the ADT, just like maybe there are some community colleges that don't value it. And so I think that is where leadership like yours and the CSU trustees and the chancellors are so critical.
We look forward to having you back as we continue to push for this as well.
So good morning, President Baum, Vice Chancellor Estolano, Chancellor Skinner, board members. You know, I really do. It's wonderful when you have sort of external eyes looking at a program that you've been living with for quite some time, and our system has been living with the ADTs for quite some time. I think we've done significant work, and it has been very pervasive throughout our entire system, both with the leadership of the CSU and the community college system, all the way to our local faculty working in collaboration actually with their CSU colleagues. And I think Michelle's absolutely right. Those strong partnerships really do help create that pathway for students. You've brought up a couple of things, and I just wanted to give you a little sense of an update from our perspective, the Academic Senate. We are working still hand in hand with our CSU Academic Senate colleagues to really try to ensure that this process is going smoothly for our students and establishing those connections that we need to do. Member Belinsky, we know we've got some issues with CID that, like Vice Chancellor Walker indicated, we are strongly working on fixing those. It is, so I have 1 year, possibly 2 with this presidency, and there are some clear things I'd like to accomplish, making sure that CID is functioning at the optimal capacity that it can, getting those reviews turned around quickly, but also providing really stable funding for the CID system. We know that we've been doing this on a shoestring budget, and it has exploded. So I think one of the pieces that we really need to look at is institutionalizing that system and providing stability with funding and resources that it needs so that it can continue to be sort of the foundation and the structure for a lot of these things that we're doing with ADTs. The other thing that I think is really exciting is that we've been having significant conversation with our UC colleagues on the UC transfer pathways and how we can align those ADTs with the UC transfer pathways. If we can do that, we do have a mechanism then to track our students. Because especially when we're looking at the STEM majors, that's where I think it's really critical. UC has indicated the sort of the optimal pathway for students. And CSU, I know, would love to have that same optimal pathway. So if there is a way to align our ADTs with the UC transfer pathways, ensure that those students get that degree and then can transfer to either one of our partners, then we are actually setting our students up for success, and we don't have to ask our students to choose, right? We don't have to say, well, you could do the ADT, but you've got that guarantee into CSU, but maybe not UC. So why not have that pathway, that degree, have that entrance into both? And I think really that's where we'd like to explore this next couple of years. Those UC transfer pathways are terrific ways for our students to move into that system. But it really shouldn't be kind of an either or. We would like our students to have all of those pathways open to them.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to the next item on the agenda, which is an update on accreditation. We also have a number of members of the public who wish to address the board on this topic. I want to do a time check with the meeting was scheduled to end at 11. I think we'll go to about 11:15, but I will have the public comment 2 minutes apiece as opposed to 3 minutes apiece so that we can make sure that as many voices are heard. And so, Chancellor Skinner, what's the latest on our review of the accreditation system?
Great. President Baum, members of the board, this item will provide you with an update on efforts to implement an improved model of accreditation for our colleges. As you know, in recent months, the CEO board, through the efforts of 2 work groups, have made significant progress in charting a path forward. This work has happened in close collaboration with the Chancellor's Office and other system stakeholders. And again, now you will have a chance to hear from a couple of the CEOs that have been critical leaders, valuable leaders in this work, Chancellor Cindy Miles and Chancellor Helen Benjamin. And Pam, I don't know if you had a few remarks before we get started on this.
So I'm back. Thank you, President Baum and Vice President Estolano and board members and Chancellor Skinner. Let me just do a quick timeline on what's happened. January 25th, we came to the Board of Governors and you approved the change of Section 51016 of Title V that removed language from its regulations naming ACCJC as the sole accreditor of the California community colleges while maintaining that the community colleges must be accredited. On September 21st, 2005, the BOG accepted the 2015 Accreditation Task Force report. On November 16th, 17th, you approved a resolution to endorse the 2015 Accreditation Task Force report. And in March of 2016, you approved a resolution to support the California Community College CEO's initiative to fundamentally change accreditation processes and structures and to monitor their progress with periodic updates. May 16th, 2016, a recommendation that the BOG monitor the CEO work groups with periodic updates, and a final recommendation for some new structure by the July 2016 meeting. I think we're moving to that place. July 18th, the BOG received a preliminary report from the CEO Work Group 1 on structure, function, and relations, and notes from Work Group 2. And here we are on September 20th, with both significantly busy chancellors coming to visit with you about the significant work they're doing behind the scenes and the deep work they're trying to do to communicate with their work groups and with the current accrediting structures and with the federal government. And so we're at this place now to give you yet another update and then where we go forward. So.
Thank you.
My colleagues, Cindy Miles and Helen Benjamin.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to be here again before you to give you an update. And I'd like to express to you Dr. Brian King's regret that he cannot be here today. He had a conflict. He is the chair of the CEO board and our fearless leader. So Dr. Miles and I are really happy to be here to update you. By way of some background and as a reminder, earlier this year in the spring, in March, CEOs met in Yosemite. We have an annual meeting, one in the north and one in the south. And this year, for the first time, as most of us can remember anyway, we had one meeting. And that ended up being a landmark meeting for us because it was in that meeting, well, we prepared before the meeting to talk about our role as CEOs in terms of accreditation. And I guess we kind of finally got it, that we are the member institutions, we have a voice, and we needed to step up and try to make a difference in what was happening in accreditation to have an impact on that. And in that meeting, we formed 2 work groups, which we call Work Group 1 and Work Group 2. Dr. Miles will talk to you about the work of Work Group 2. I chaired and continue to chair Work Group 1. I reported to you, I think in June, on our progress to that point, I think May, And we gave you a copy of the report that our work group, one, developed and submitted to the commission. And we did that report in less than a month. I mean, I've never worked with people who were so committed to a task. And you had an opportunity to look at it. It was rather lengthy. We had we did lots of work. If we had had more time, it probably would have been more thorough. But we were a team on a mission, and we knew that the commission had a deadline it was trying to meet and things they were trying to do in advance, and we wanted to be helpful in that process. And we presented our report, Dr. King and I, to the commission at its June meeting. And they had a committee, a subcommittee, already looking at some changes they could make. And so that committee took our recommendations, and they wrote a response. They worked over the summer to develop a response for us, and I think you have a copy of their response. So we met, our committee, we originally, and still have 17 members in our group. 11 of us, including our Chancellor, Eric Skinner, met with the subcommittee and the CEO of the commission on September 9th and walked through line by line their responses to our recommendations in the report we submitted to them in June. They wanted some clarification. We gave them additional suggestions and to recommendations we had made in the report, but we engaged in a dialogue for 4 hours around our recommendations. We did not complete our task. We will meet again in October to complete the work. I think we're feeling fairly good about where we are. We can't say that everything's been implemented, everything that, this was funny in the meeting, that everything that's written in the report has been done. And I almost half jokingly said, well, we need evidence. You get it, evidence? Okay. Anyway, and we do still need to check and make sure we know that some things have been changed, but we want to validate that those changes have been made, and we have not done that. We've had only the one meeting, and so we still have some work to do. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to look over their responses, but if you have had an opportunity, I could entertain questions right now.
Thank you. Let's ask, are you talking about the ACCJC response?
The ACCJC response or our original report, either of the two.
Let's see if there's questions first, but I wanted to see if Chancellor Miles had anything she would like to add to the conversation.
She's going to report on Work Group 2. That's my Work Group 1 report. They're different, totally different efforts.
Let's go to Board Group 2 and then see if there's any questions.
Okay,
because we've got members of the public who wish to address the board.
And then our Work Group 1 was to look at significant improvements that can be made. That was our job. And our approach is, Rome wasn't built in a day. And so it takes time to get these changes made. And so that's what we've done in Work Group 1.
Work Group 2.
Thank you all. It's a real pleasure to come back. President Baum, Vice President Estolano, Chancellor Skinner, members of the Board of Governors. I want to underscore before I go into a little detail about the work of Work Group 2, what Chancellor Benjamin has said and the lightning fast work that Work Group 1 has done. And it was quite significant. I was going back and looking at this, Helen, in preparation. When we came to you in March and presented the recommendations that came out of this collective work of the community college CEOs across the state, a remarkable, I can't underscore what significance this was to come with such unanimity. We ended up with 100 voices confirming this recommendation that we brought to you and that you then confirmed that led to our 2 work groups moving forward. By April the 8th, this woman had convened Work Group 1, and within a month, that group was meeting. So there is significant work, and I think it's also important to recognize, the huge village that it takes and is currently involved and continuing to be involved. We mentioned, Chancellor Skinner, this woman here has been instrumental. It's amazing. I look at the contributions even
Teresa Tenapal, Feist, and then there are members sitting here who were part of the implementation task force that moved us to the place where the CEOs recognized that the regional accreditors talk to CEOs. The member institutions and the seats at the tables, the only people they talk to are the CEOs of the institutions. Therefore, it was imperative that the CEOs take this. But we're not alone as we do this. So we look at, I know that Pam Haynes, you were on our implementation task force. Doug Otto, who is in the room. Rich Hansen, who is in the room, was on all 4 task forces. I was on 3 of the 4. You heard that history before. This work began in 2008 under Chancellor Scott. We moved through 3 more task forces under Chancellor Harris. I'm telling you this because we're sitting before you saying, this is big, deep work that we're doing, and it takes time. It takes time. So we'll report to you. It may feel, and you no doubt will hear expressions of impatience from our colleagues, and know that we share that impatience, but we also know we didn't get here overnight, and to do this well and to build the best accreditation system for our students and our colleges will take time. So with that preface, Work Group 2, and I believe all of you have a copy of a 3-page report. Have you? Good. So you see on the front the designation of our responsibilities, reminding you that our charge, different from the charge of Work Group 1, which is to improve and enhance our work collaboratively with our commission to strengthen it. Work Group 2 is to look at a new model for higher education for the Western region, which aligns all segments of higher education. So the composition is imperative as you look at this, and you look down this list. So there's 19 members overall. We have representatives from all 11 of the community college regions as we are divided according to our CEO board representation. So you see those representatives from the California community colleges. We have representative from Maui Community College. The chancellor, it's significant because this institution was formerly accredited by ACCJC, currently accredited by WASC Senior, so has both those perspectives. You see membership from private 2-year college. You see representation from the Senior Commission, WASC Senior, in the form of both the president of the commission and the chair of the commission. Very significant representation. We're also pleased that we have representation from ACCJC that has now come to join us and participated in the second meeting. I'll go over those. So we have our vice chair of the commission, Chancellor Rodriguez, who's also been very instrumental, both in helping with the work with Work Group 1 and with Work Group 2. And then our fearless leader, Brian King. So it's important that I think that you see the comprehensive nature of this. Then if you look at, so we've had 2 face-to-face meetings with Work Group 2. You can imagine that if we're taking on an initiative of this import, it would take some time to collect this group coming from different perspectives. So we spent quite a bit of time in our first meeting just figuring out who we are, our backgrounds, our expertise, what we're bringing to the table so that we could, and calibrating on our goals. Very important if we're, to work together that we're all, shooting in the same direction, right? We reviewed the accreditation history and purpose, what's been going on the big national stage. We can't do this in isolation, and we recognize this is not a California-centric initiative. We must be respectful of our colleagues in Hawaii and in the Western Pacific who are also impacted by any actions or decisions that we might be recommending. So we looked at what's going on in the higher education context, the blurring of lines of higher ed, many of the things that we had talked about in a number of our task force initiatives, but it was important that we all shared this same body of knowledge as we move forward. So there are a lot of changes in community colleges. I enjoyed hearing the update on the associate degrees for transfer, and you didn't talk about the baccalaureate today, but certainly these initiatives are part of the forethought of what is raising us to think about and question our current structure for accreditation of higher education. Even things like our dual enrollment and those relationships changes our relationship in the institution. And one of the themes that had come out of previous task force discussions, and certainly was a discussion with this work group, is that question of, if you look at the associate degrees for transfer, those first 2 years of college, that freshman and senior, those first 60 hours, now are deemed identical to that in the CSU. The question arises, then why would you have two different systems of accreditation that would oversee the quality and content of that learning? So things like that come to mind as we have these discussions. We talked about the accrediting system in the United States overall. You see, like 12 little words on here. This was a 2-hour discussion because it's major changes in the demands and pressures on our accrediting commissions. We have to recognize that, this is no small feat to be an accreditor in this nation, any more than it is to be a community college or a board of governors. The challenges rise with the demands for higher education and the changing landscape of accountability. So we needed to look at what those increasing demands, and you see some of those listed in the middle of the page. We're wanting more transparency, and the Department of Education is asking our accreditors to measure accreditation in new terms nowadays on rates of graduation, on student achievement, on default rates for student loans, those sorts of things. It changes the world. Then we went away and we had homework where each of us looked deeply at what's going on at the other regional accreditors and how the alignment works in other commissions. We came back together again in July, and at that meeting, we included the representation from ACCJC that I had mentioned. Chancellor Rodriguez joined our meeting. At that meeting, we began to get to the work of beginning to align. First of all, we looked at the homework and made sure we were all calibrated on those ideals that you see at the bottom of page 2, the ideals that we felt would define any higher education, a regional higher education model of accreditation. And you see, what you might expect and the words and the elements that you had seen in the previous task force reports. Collegial learning community, transparency, the cornerstone of peer evaluation. This concept of making sure there are pathways and interactions among the segments. Then we went to the work of beginning to outline a roadmap of options, and you see listed on page 3 4 different options that we are currently exploring. Let me give you a little bit more background on those. So we undertook a multi-hour discussion where we evaluated pros, cons, what steps would be needed for each of these options, what additional information would be needed if we were to be able to compare and move to a point where we would be able to say, this is the recommended pathway and the steps to get there that we would bring to you and to the community. So those 4 are, number 1, not simply, but building stronger relationships between ACCJC and WASC Senior. Taking that to a different level that doesn't exist now. The second option we're exploring is that for our 2-year colleges within the region could potentially choose an accrediting commission. So in the sense of being with ACCJC or choosing to be accredited by WASC Senior. The third option we were exploring was having a single accreditor for the Western region, and that could mean a variety of things. We explored those pros and cons and some of those concepts. And then the fourth idea that was brought forward was potentially our regional community colleges having a relationship with some accreditor other than WASC Senior. So as I said, we went through a very extensive process of looking at outlining those parameters around all 4 of those. We identified issues, identified more information to be gained. I'm happy to share some of that with you. And then you see also mentioned here external factors that I think we have to consider. They're outside the realm of our control in many ways, but things that will impact what we are doing with this work. And it's looking at ACCJC's, how they will fare under the NASIKI and Department of Education assessment that is coming up in December. There's a question of how the Department of Education would react to a request if it were moving to the pathway where WASC Senior, for example, were thinking of allowing or being interested in having our community colleges be a part of that institution. It would take a change of scope that would have to be approved by the Department of Education. There's a question mark about how that would be received. The question mark about whether the Department of Education would even conceive of allowing community colleges in the Western region to make choice. That is a precedent that doesn't exist anywhere else in the nation currently. We have a regional model of accreditation whereby institutions must be accredited by their regional, and the institution that is recognized by the Department of Education as their regional accreditor. So we're, the lawsuits that are at play and the attempts at legislative intrusion in the accrediting process. All these factors are at play in the environment, if you will. Important, the things that we did universally agree on is that change is desired, and change of a substantive nature. Make no mistake. And that kind of change, I'll underscore, doesn't happen overnight. It's quite substantive. It takes much consideration, many factors, and many, many, many steps along the way. How much change and what type of change will depend, our recommendations that would come forward would depend on how much institutions are willing to bear change. It's a lot of work. Just going through the process, it's disruptive to think of making change of this magnitude in some cases, and how much the accreditors are willing to undergo. So it takes change on both sides. And much more research is needed. So that's where we are. That's the work we've done to date. And we're coming back together again October 28th to continue our work.
Please thank the CEOs for their leadership in this effort. And we're going to take some public comment, but is there a quick point of clarification that you would like to make?
Just a quick question, Chancellor Miles. Is WASC Senior interested in taking the California community colleges?
That is not a question that we have, we can't
You
answer
haven't
that
asked them
question.
yet.
We have representation from the president of WASC and from the chair of the board of WASC. They sit with us at every meeting, and they keep coming back to our meetings.
Okay.
Given the time, we were going to limit public comment to 2 minutes. If you would mention the individuals.
I'm going to bring up three at a time. Timothy Killikelly, Sharon Vogel, and Lynette Niaga. And we're only going to do 2 minutes, folks. Sorry.
I don't see Tim.
He was.
Yeah.
Maybe he did not come back.
So who's next after?
So Sharon Vogel, Lynette Niaga, and Julie Bruno. Go ahead, Ms. Vogel.
Thank you, Sharon Vogel, President of FAC, and thank you, President Baum and Vice President Estolano and the board members. I want to thank the task force again for all the hard work they did, and then again thank the board for their movement on the resolution that they passed and on changing the key wording in the language to change the title for the pulling out ACCJC. I also want to thank the hard work that's been very evident in your reports today of the 2 workforce groups that have come out of it. And FAC is working closely with the Chancellor's Office to implement the law of AB 404 by Representative Chu to collect the important information to deliver to that October 10th deadline to NYSERDA and Department of Ed from classified and faculty in particular, regarding how things are going using the criteria that Department of Education uses to evaluate ACCJC's work or any accreditor's work. I would just like to urge you today to continue to press to move our community college system to a higher ed accreditor that matches the wonderful model accrediting elements that are in your report that came out of the task force, those ideals that we're striving for. I just cannot urge you enough to continue this hard work of moving us to a higher ed accreditor. Thank you.
Thank you. Lynette Niaga, followed by Julie Bruno, and then Sarah Callahan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As I said yesterday, I represent the California Teachers Association, the faculty who are represented by the California Teachers Association. And I, too, would like to echo Sharon's appreciation and endorsement of all the work that has been done, the courage of the CEOs, the courage of this board in taking affirmative action in regards to accreditation. I see this board as being the guiding light of our system. This is what you're here for. So I encourage you to think seriously about all this information that has come your way on accreditation and ask yourselves, what is the best thing for our system? What's the best thing for our students? That is what we really have to think about. We are going to a a new model. We have baccalaureate degrees now. Traditionally, even today in the world, some people don't think we're higher education. I always hear these people saying, well, they're the junior colleges and higher education. So we know we're higher education. The faculty have stated unequivocally that we would like to move to another accreditor, preferably Senior WASC. So that is what I'm conveying to you, and hope that you will take that into consideration in your deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you. Julie Bruno, Sarah Callahan, and then Richard Hansen.
Good morning. So apparently the presidents of the organizations here are all echoing each other. So I'm going to echo Lynette and Sharon and just actually thank Chancellors Benjamin and Miles for their exceptional leadership during this time. And we really do, the Academic Senate really does appreciate being partners in that work. We've been part of Work Group 1, and we know that that work continues. Chancellor Miles, her update today was terrific, and I know that it's going to be a challenging process to bring everybody together to really sort of direct the path of where we want to go. I too will urge us to keep in mind the Accreditation Task Force report that we all did endorse, and it was from the CEOs, the CIOs, the faculty, the students, classified, and ultimately the Board of Governors. And we really are looking for that single accrediting commission. We understand that the process and a new model for accreditation is going to take a number of years to implement, and that we must work with our current accreditor, and we're working on doing just that to help improve the process for our colleges. That said, we must continue to pursue a single accrediting commission for the Western region. It's important for us to do so. We've had some challenges working with ACCJC, and we are, especially when we talk about the bachelor's degrees and the handbook that this group endorsed, and that we worked a year in, and then to have a policy come out from ACCJC that was in direct conflict with that handbook. So we do know that we've got some challenges, and but I would urge us to stay the course on that single accreditor for our system. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Callahan, Richard Hansen, and then if Tim Kelly, I guess he's not here today.
I'm Sarah Callahan from the California Federation of Teachers, and here to read remarks on behalf of Tim Kelly, who is the president of AFT 2121 and faculty at City College of San Francisco. The ACCJC response letter to Working Group 1 has raised a number of red flags. ACCJC has reported that it's changed its policy on visiting team recommendations. The new policy is that the team is not going to make accreditation status recommendations. The timing of this new policy, when they're coming to visit the City College of San Francisco in October, is both curious and alarming. As you may know, in the 2012 visiting team wanted to give City College probation and not show cause by 14-0 vote. ACCJC then decided to give City College show cause, and then the crisis began. The reason for this new policy, according to ACCJC, is to avoid the perceived inconsistencies. There will be no inconsistencies because the team is not even being asked. That's of great concern. Another red flag is ACCJC would consider significant changes to its standards and process in 7 to 10 years. How can those responses be acceptable to the board? The ACCJC issues are not going to get better on their own. There is another crisis looming when ACCJC has a decision on City College in January of 2017. Although City College has done all the work required, it's little confidence in getting a fair hearing. The BOG needs to take action, and timely action, to ensure that no more damage is done to the community college students. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Mr. Hansen.
Good morning. I am that one who had the privilege of serving on all 4 task forces. I prefer to think of it as 3 and then 3.5 for the implementation. But I lived the transition from a group that met first to work with ACCJC to come to some way of working better together and appreciating each other's different sides of the accreditation process, through the middle one when we couldn't come to any real conclusion. We were too divided. And then finally, the one that you're dealing with at this point, the recommendation to establish a new model. And at this point now, I have to say that I've been convinced that that new model has to be a new accreditor, one that brings us into the four-year institutions. You just heard presentations today about why that would be a good thing, the transfer issues. Also, I think the culture of our CEOs, the reports today were quite enlightening. I appreciated Helen Benjamin's comment about the need for evidence, that we need to hear what ACCJC is doing. And that's really a reflection of their own culture, which goes far deeper than just the leadership. So cosmetic changes won't be enough. And then also for our own CEOs, we heard that from Cindy Miles. You can hear there's trepidation in that report about, making sure we're going to be okay and will the workload be too great. And so I think that the faculty, I think we've heard from all of us now today, we will assist our CEOs to move forward into the future. They can count on us to have their backs, so to say, and I do believe it's important to make that transition, and we can correct both cultures all at once. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for presenting to us and also giving us the update. Our sincere appreciation to the CEOs. There obviously, between now and our next Board of Governors meeting, there will be a lot more to report with those interim meetings and outcomes in October. So we will then bring this back to the Board of Governors for consideration at the October meeting. I did ask also Chancellor Skinner if we could forego the state and federal report because we're in the middle of the process, and he will keep us posted as there are legislative areas that are of direct concern to the community colleges. And that in November, after the election and after the conclusion of what the governor signed or didn't sign, we'd like a more thorough report, especially as we can also assess the direction that the federal government may be going in the wake of new policy. So we will go on to board member reports. Rather than going around the table, if there are any board members that would wish to make an announcement, I wanted to see if there are any board members that have announcements to share. Good. The one announcement I will share is that in the November meeting, I think we're going to try to do it in a one-day meeting on the Monday, the 14th of November, if it's possible, in consultation with the Vice President and the Chancellor as well. Then we will move to our public forum, part of our agenda. Are there other members of the public that wish to address the board in public forum?
We have three, because we have 3 seats. Julie Bruno, Mara Javines, and Courtney Cooper.
And in the interest of time, I'd like to limit that to 2 minutes if possible.
Good morning again. So President Baum, Vice President Estolano, Chancellor Skinner, and board members, I apologize for missing the last meeting when we announced our new chancellor, Eloy Oakley. We're very pleased that the board made a wonderful decision, and the Academic Senate is very much looking forward to working with him when he comes on board in December. He will be our keynote speaker at our plenary session in November, and I'd like to extend an invitation to all of you to come and join us. The session begins November 3rd, Thursday, and goes through Saturday the 5th. Thursday and Friday are the days that we have all of our discussions and breakouts, and of course then we deliberate over resolutions and create action for our system, or for our organization on Saturday. President Oakley will be with us on Friday, so we would love to have you all join us as well. The theme this year is honoring the past, navigating the present, and imagining the future. So we're very clearly into the forward-looking direction. And we have a number of topics that might prove interesting for you. Pathways programs, college promise programs, strong workforce recommendation implementation, curriculum processes,
and serving formerly incarcerated students. So we would love to have you all. Also, our latest rostrum is available, and I believe Chancellor Skinner pushed it out to you on email. I can also mail you some hard copies. We've got really terrific articles in that, so I urge you to look to that. And finally,
30
you
seconds.
met our wonderful Vice President, John Stanskis, at the last meeting. He sort of filled in for me. We both look really very much forward to working with you this year, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mara Javinas.
May I allow Courtney to speak first?
Absolutely.
Thank you for letting us address the board and for your action taken over the last 2 days. So as an update for the Student Senate for California Community Colleges, we've continued our work on our Memorandum of Understanding as we transition into being a nonprofit. We have formed a strategic ad hoc, so looking forward to planning out the next 5 years and where the organization sees itself going, making sure that we are stable, not just for this council, but moving on to the next generations. We have been active in civic engagement, so one of our biggest things is getting out the vote. So we have given voter registration training as well as empowered regions to bring it to their ASOs. And at the Consultation Council, we did touch base with the CCA, so hopefully we won't be duplicating efforts, but instead collaborating with them, with faculty, so that we're pushing civic engagement out to students. With the close of the ledge cycle, we had a very successful year. 5 out of 7 of the bills that we sponsored or co-sponsors are going to be making it to the governor's desk, hopefully signed. And in preparation for the next ledge cycle coming up, we'll be giving legislative training, so empowering our legislative affairs directors so that they can continue to have a banner year in this coming year. We approved our new finance policy, so we'll match with our new constitution and new bylaws, as well as we've been working on not just maintaining our system partnerships, but strengthening them. So I've been in touch with the CSU and the UC president for their student association, so having more collaborative efforts, as well as with our system partners such as the Academic Senate and FAC.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Mara.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for the board for allowing me to speak here today before you again. Yes, so just to go a little bit into that, we did have the Academic Senate come in present to our board and see how we can work on our relationship. And Courtney did, President Cooper did mention some of the relationships that we're having with our sister segments. The CSU is one that we do have to work on a little bit more, but the UC system is something that is very special to us in the sense that they've been I guess, more subject to collaboration. Some of the things that they're, I guess, we've reviewed their priorities, and some of the main campaigns that they're taking on are How Are You, which is their mental health, Reignite is diversifying the UC, and UCSOS, which is sustaining our students, having to do with basic needs security. So although each of our segments needs are unique, they do kind of overlap, and we're trying to see how to support each other with that. Last but not least, our partnership with the Chancellor's Office is something that is obviously very important. So we're looking to expand that, and within my role for the organization, that is something that I'm hoping to strengthen, and definitely connecting with the folks at the Chancellor's Office, and I guess having a symbiotic relationship and having us play more of an active role in voicing our priorities and things like that, as we did yesterday. And I'm so glad to see that the board was supportive of food and housing security. So I'm really appreciative on behalf of the Student Senate to see that you all have supported that and made it one of your priorities as well, and that you all believe in the mission of what we're also trying to do. And hopefully that will come to fruition this springtime. Thank you all again.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure to welcome the new leadership of the students and be in partnership with that. That concludes our formal business agenda. And I want to again express our thanks to the Yuba Community College District and Woodland Community College for hosting us for a very productive 2 days of meetings. And I want to thank the Chancellor and the Vice Chancellors for another a good meeting and all the people who presented, and we look forward to seeing everybody in November.